Good evening. Welcome to the November 2nd, 2015 regularly scheduled meeting of the Guilford Parks and Recreation Commission. Calling the meeting to order at 6:34 p.m. I'm Jack Penders, and to my right is Sue Robbins. To Sue's right is Claire Kincaid Dunn. To Claire's right is Judy Sullivan. And to Judy's right is Diane Van Steenbergen, and Suzanne McDermott is to Diane's right. To my left, Rose Doster, Rick Maynard, Director of Parks and
She's Rose with two thorns.
Yes, of course. Of course. Rick Maynard, Director of Parks and Recreation Department, our Recording Secretary, Catherine Stewart, and the woman behind the audiography and videography is Shannon Gale. Public forum, seeing no one, hearing no one. Let's move on to item number 3, correspondence. And we've received a few items, Rick. If you would take us through a couple of them. The one regarding the 8th grade grade school girls leading the beach cleanup. I think it's, and with a photograph, a team photo on the back as well.
Yeah. This group is called Waves of Freedom, and it's a group of, I think they're in 7th grade now, or maybe 8th, but when they were 5th graders, they started this group doing cleanups at Jacobs Beach. In fact, last year they got a state award from our state professional Parks and Rec Association. I had nominated them as outstanding young people's or teen group or something, and the 3 girls who started this whole thing got state recognition. They came to the banquet last year at our state conference and were recognized in front of all the state Parks and Recreation professionals from all over Connecticut. And so they're continuing their efforts, and they were at the beach on the October 17th. I didn't get a chance to get down there to see how they're doing, but this is sort of a summary that Liza Petra, who's the mother of one of the girls, had sent me. And they raised $300 to the brownie sale to go toward Jacobs Beach improvements.
That's great.
We purchased the bike rack that we haven't put in yet. It came in, I think, sometime in September. Through funds that they raised last time around. So the bike rack that's going to Jacobs Beach is donated by Waves of Freedom. They're the ones that raised the money for it. So it's a great group of kids, and you can see from the group photo there that they, I think she said they had about 30 or 40 kids, I think, around there that day to help clean the beach, and she listed all the types of debris they found, and 8 bags of garbage. So, 22 kids, yeah, 8 bags of garbage they
Do they plan to continue with this in future years?
I think, you know,
are they
it's
building
something
a network for
they've been
that?
excited about. They have their own website. You can go on the wavesoffreedom.com and you can see the stuff they put up on there.
Okay.
It's all about environmental cleaning and, you know,
It's great.
they've chosen Jacobs Beach as sort of their pet project, and we've benefited from it, and so has the community.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
For the record, John Jakelski, Commissioner, is now seated. Rick, there are 2 other items. One is a more of a personal note, and it's relating to a use of the community center for next March 19th.
Oh, that's under new
So
business.
you want to defer that until the agenda
Yeah, I
item
think so, yeah.
on 9A?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then also a request about purchasing something for Jacobs Beach that you handed us. You want to deal with that now,
I
or?
suggest put that on a new business, maybe see.
Okay. Okay. Agenda item 4, approval of the October 5th, 2005 minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
If so, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the October 5th, 2015 meeting.
So moved.
I just, you know what, I just have one thing.
Let me just get it on the table, then you can.
Okay.
A motion by Sue Robbins to move. A second.
Second.
second by Claire Kincaid Dunn. Any corrections or omissions? Suzanne?
Yeah, my name wasn't included in favor on the dog park location.
Alfie Sullivan was away.
That's right.
On the
Susan, would
vote.
you repeat that?
I was not included as an in favor vote on the dog park location.
And you
Page
were.
4.
And you should take Sullivan off, yes.
Okay. I just have one question on, going back to the bills on page 2.
John, just before that, just to complete what she's saying, under in favor, then we would add McDermott and delete Sullivan.
Ah, I see. I
Sorry.
didn't even notice, okay.
John?
I like the way Judy voted on both sides of the,
Nice try, Judy.
she voted for it before she voted against it. No, it's just a question going back to page 2, where Sue had asked about a clarification on a potential duplication of bills. I didn't know if that was, if you had a chance to read.
It was not, that particular, no, that was 3 months worth that we hadn't gotten bills for a 3-month period.
Yeah,
Okay,
they were all
so
the
it's just an
same.
accumulation of
Yeah.
bills from the
Yeah.
okay, that's cool.
The company was bought out by another company, and I think their finance department was a little behind and catching up.
Okay.
Will that reflect why Schweitzer is not on this month's bill? We'll get to that, though.
Could be.
They're not on it.
We didn't get one yet.
Any further corrections, or additions, omissions? If not, all those in favor of adopting the October 5th, 2015 minutes as amended, signify saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No abstentions.
Yes.
One abstention.
One abstention.
Opposed, Austin. That's correct. Agenda item 5, review and approval of expenditures for October 2015.
My only question I have on that, and maybe because I'm new here, I'm not sure, under the building maintenance, just wondered what all the staples, what that is, what are all those expenditures for? I just was curious.
Staples is the office supply, I'm sorry, no, WB Mason is office supply. Staples is our cleaning supplies.
Cleaning supplies.
And so if Anthony needs, whatever, it's everything from floor cleaning to Windex to toilet
I was just curious,
tissue.
because I
that
saw
kind of stuff.
WB Mason under the office supplies and just.
Yeah,
wanted to read it.
Staples you would think is office supplies, but it's not. That's actually
Yeah.
our supplies for cleaning.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the bills.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Actually, I just have one question going back. I'm sorry. I saw this and I forgot to. The town transfer station actually charged another town facility for using the transfer station?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something new.
And maybe another
That'll
one,
be
too,
more bulk
coming up.
waste, because our waste contractor does most of our
Okay.
trash, all trash. It might have been, something that the guys had to throw out or something, maybe it was some chairs or something. I don't know offhand what it was, but it's something we had to bring in ourselves.
Agenda item 6, department reports. Rick?
I guess I'll highlight, because some of these are on the agenda,
Yeah.
agenda anyway, but probably the number one, because I actually should have put that on the agenda, the weed control at Lake Quantipoc. I had a meeting this afternoon with Joe Mazza, Representative Candelora, Kevin McGee, Jim Portley, and Greg Bugby, and his assistant from the Connecticut Agricultural Experimental Station. Anyway, there's a grant, the deadline for the grant is Monday, and Kevin, Greg, and I have been working on it for the last month and a half, 2 months. It's to apply to it's for invasive weeds only at Lake Quantipoc. So a lot of weeds in there are not invasive, so we can't technically go after those weeds. But one of the things Greg is recommending that we're going to pursue is at the beach area, they're called benthic barriers, and basically they're like tarps you put down,
Yes.
and it kills the weeds underneath. There's some debate about, do you leave them all season long, do you leave them for like a couple months, like April, May, maybe into June, and they'll kill any weeds that are beneath them, then you can take them out, and so that would be part of the grant. That's about $8,500. And then we're looking at other areas of the lake, about 12 acres altogether, where there are invasive weeds that it'd be a chemical control. We looked at a couple options. One is a machine that we could actually purchase with the grant, a harvester, but then there's issues about we probably need another full-time guy to operate it, and who maintains it, and where do you store it. So at the meeting today, the direction that we decided that we all decided we're going to go in is the chemical control, which is
Okay.
probably good for about a couple of years.
Yeah.
So in conversation with Joe Mazza at the meeting today, he said that's something we probably end up putting as a line item in our budget every year to do at least parts of the lake for weed control.
We have 20,000 in the budget this year, though, don't we?
Well, we're going to put it, that's one thing we'll talk about for tonight, yeah. Because the grant is a matching grant, so the town has to, what they're recommending we go for is $50,000. So the town has to come up with $50,000, which a lot of it can be in-kind service, like a lot of the work that Greg Bugby has done. There's no charge for that, but that would be in-kind service. And at the time that I put into it, Kevin McGee, Jim Portley, all that can be charged to it. There's a meeting on Saturday with the people who live on the lake, their association, that I'm going to go to at least part of it. Joe's going to be there, Greg Bugby, I think Senator Kennedy's going. If anybody else is interested, it's at 11:30, I think, at the North Guilford Firehouse. They're planning on having a 4-hour meeting. We're going to go for the first hour.
Wow. I don't have that much
I
time.
can't, 'cause I actually have to get something up at Central Connecticut State University. I'm speaking on a panel on something else up there on Saturday. So I told him I can't stay too long, but anyway, Greg's going to be there too, and we'll just talk about what our plan is. And unfortunately, the invasive species that is all this grant is for, they don't really affect the areas in front of most of where the neighbors live. The invasive species are more like the boat launch, the north end of the lake, the beach, and then the shallow sort of,
Yeah,
they would call it the island, is sort of in the middle. There's a
Yeah.
very shallow area.
Yeah.
That's where the invasive species are, and that's all we can apply for with this grant. So, anyway, we've been working a lot on that. Greg Bugby's done a tremendous job as a volunteer with a lot of the grant, because he's the expert, and he had to know what kind of chemicals, what are the weeds, where are they? He has his whole map of the whole lake and where all the different, he's probably got a list of 20 different weeds in there, different species, but
Wow.
there are 3 or 4 that are invasive, that are ones that we're targeting. And we did some of the research in-house on the benthic barriers, and we decided that's a good way to go for the beach area. And it'll help us. And these barriers, Greg said they could last 10, 12 years. We have to take them out every year. You don't leave them in, because then silt will get on top and the weeds growing on the silt. But it's something we put in, take out. Joe Mazza said he's already talked to the fire department. Their divers can put them in for us, so we don't have to pay anybody for that. But we can use that as the in-kind, part of the in-kind service for the matching grant. So anyway, it's a pretty big project. If we get the funds, it'll really do a lot to help the public better use that lake. And part of the grant, the part I did is about access and numbers of people using it. And the estimate I had that for this summer was about 20,000 people using that lake. Most of that is from our beach. We know from our beach passes. We know the paddle boats and the kayaks that we have. And then we know the crew team, how many crew team members there are from the Guilford High School crew team and how many days they were on it. What I don't know is how many boaters come from the boat launch area. But the numbers I had come up with, and not counting the choke crew team, was, I think it was 14,000 or 15,000 users from the beach area. And then you add choke, you add boaters, and easily it was 20,000 more people.
People who come in around the other way.
Right. So it's a lot. It's a very heavily used lake. And in the grant, we're emphasizing it's not just Guilford. It's open to anybody in the state who wants to go there. Even our beach passes, non-residents can buy beach passes, but people come from all over to go fishing there. It's not just Guilford people, so it's a statewide, or at least a regional resource. And so we need some funds to, the weed infestation is seriously impacting all the recreational benefits of that lake. Swimming, boating. The crew team has a real difficult time rolling through those weeds because they're so thick.
Yeah.
I've kayaked on it in August. there are certain parts, you can't get to the southernmost portion of the lake, you can't get through there, it's just filled with lily pads. But unfortunately, those are not invasive, so that's not an area we can even address. But anywhere, I went the whole perimeter of the lake in August just to see how bad it was. And I mean, there are areas where the weeds are sticking out of the water that far. So it affects fishing, your fishing lines get tangled up in that. And so it really, if something isn't done, that lake is going to get lost.
Yeah,
So,
I think you're on the right track.
yeah.
Good.
Question for you. I remember earlier meetings we talked about lowering the level of the lake with the dam. Now, with the drought that we've been suffering, would this be an opportune time to lower the level of the lake by taking some of the height of that dam down? Because I drive by there frequently and I don't see any water spilling over it, heading down to the river, so.
That is actually a suggestion we had made, but DEP is not supportive of that at all. They basically said no.
They said no.
No, because they're concerned that there are some protected species of, that are endangered, species of plants in the lake. If we lower it, it could kill those off. But we thought by lowering the lake, even people who live around the lake in the fall or winter when it's lowered, at least they can go pull weeds. You can't
Clean
do
up
it
in front of the
come in the
property.
water very easily. And they could rake them out or whatever. But DEP was not supportive of that.
And the curious irony there is, we own the dam.
Right.
We own the dam, but not the lake, yes. That is curious.
Rick, items 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7 are contained elsewhere on the agenda. Why don't you just comment on number 9, Spooktacular?
Oh, that was,
I mean,
it was
it's worthy of-
spectacular.
I'll let
worthy
somebody
of-
else comment.
It was spectacular.
Let participants talk.
It's worthy of comment.
Yeah,
Another great event.
yeah.
My kids were there and many others. We participated in the trunk or treating part, and we had 2 cars there, and then the kids were on the green doing everything, so another job well done. My only suggestion, and I know you can't round up chaos or thousands of kids, but making the trunk or treating one way. Because you had coming to your car, if you were one person at your car, you had people coming in all directions, and little ones at some point got knocked over. So just making it one way, but
That would be hard.
yes,
But it was great. We had, I think, 30
Oh, the
cars this
bucking,
year.
it was
the
great.
bucking pumpkin
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Yeah, we had a little video of Lindsay. She tried it.
Yeah, she told me she
We
did.
should put that
She
on
told me she
YouTube.
did.
I think.
You know, the ice cream, thanks to
Ashley.
Ashley's for the ice cream. The kids were having a ball. It was grand.
And I have to emphasize, it was
Great.
co-sponsored, it was part of the DAY initiative, Developmental Assets
Right.
for Youth, which is, there are volunteers as part of that. Youth and Family Services staff were all there. Our staff, Ellen, Lindsay, Andrew, myself, we were all there. And we had a couple other seasonal people we hired to help us out too. And yeah, it was a good event, about 900 people. It was bigger this year than
We
last
went through
year.
a ton of candy this year.
Yeah.
I think they ran out.
Yes, we all did.
Yeah.
The police department, the fire department, they were there.
Yeah.
The Gables,
Yes.
you know, a retirement community there. They had a bus and they were handing out mugs, I think. When I told our staff next year, we're going to make parents very happy. We're going to go to all the dentists in town. I did this in another community. Get all the dentists to donate toothbrushes and toothpaste. We'll hand it out with the candy. When I worked in Cheshire, I did that. All the dentists gave stuff, you know, get all those little sample toothpaste.
Yeah.
Parents will be very happy with this, I think, if we start giving that out in addition to the candy.
Well, I have to say the Gables van was a big hit.
Yeah.
The kids were on the van, talking to everyone, barking orders at the lovely people that were sitting there, so it was a lot of fun. They were having a great time.
Yeah. It was a great day, too, and the weather was great.
weather was
and,
perfect.
it was a good event.
I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, I heard that the police department were carrying around bags of candy in their cars. And if you stop the police officer,
Yep, on Halloween, they asked you to flag down some patrol cars and they handed out candy.
That's interesting. You stopped them instead of stopping you.
Parks Foreman report, anything you want to highlight?
I guess, you know, just again, if you look in here, you see,
How much?
Tony does a good job illustrating the kinds of things they do, because I think a lot of people, I think I mentioned this maybe the last meeting too, that I think people sometimes think all we do is mow and line fields, you know, but you could see all the other other tasks here. I'm
Absolutely.
constantly giving something else, say, Tony, add this to the list, we need this, and they're great, they respond, and, the guys are always very, very busy, and you can see.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, his last line, preparing our equipment for the S word, and for
Yeah.
snow word, remember priority.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it speaks for itself, but, okay.
If I could, you know what, I should add in here, because I don't think he put this on here. He did talk about prepping Jacobs Beach, and Sue, you'd be interested in this too, that we've not been able to get grass seed to grow down there.
Yeah.
The area between the
Yeah,
pavilion,
yeah.
and I
So that
think
the
there's just a
other
lot of issues with that. We sodded it today.
Oh, you
We
did?
purchased sod, it came today, and the guys were there, and they put down, I think it was around 14,000 square feet of sod.
Wow.
And so, and we're gonna water. We bought more sprinklers, we got 4 sprinklers down there to water like crazy. We had money still in that account, the Jacobs Beach account, so it didn't come out of our budget. I mean, it is, but it's not our operating budget. And we just finally bit the bullet and said,
Yeah.
no matter how much we watered it, I think the problem was that it's always windy, the sun down there. The guys would water it, by the time they finish one end, and get to the other end, the one they started is dry already.
Yeah.
The wind just dries it out.
Yeah.
In fact, I was down there last Thursday, and there had to be 50-mile-an-hour winds
Yes.
down there. And the angriest ocean I've ever seen at Jacobs.
Yeah.
3-foot-high waves, and obviously it was an unusual day, but the point is, it's always breezy
it's always
down there.
windy.
And it dries out, at least with the sod. The roots are under they're buried underneath there, so that it takes a lot of water to get it going, but it doesn't take as much water once it gets going. And we took advantage of this beautiful
Yeah.
summer-like weather we're going to have this week, so we should get some rooting, I would say, by the end of the week, early next week.
Great. Good.
And if you continue to reseed it, it costs more and more money for seed, but also for labor.
In the labor, yeah.
You reach a point where it wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah.
It's not cost effective.
We may, I know Will Thompson has suggested, and John Cunningham, our 2 architects with that project, that, they suggested a couple years ago we should put irrigation down there. We have it on the strip between the boardwalk and the sand,
that's
which is
beautiful.
imperative. We had to have that.
Yeah.
We might want to think about that at some point. It's not in the budget to talk about tonight, but if it's something we want to get a price on, we can, put it in another year or two, if we think it's important to do that.
Might be.
Yeah. Okay.
Ellen Claus report.
Oh, I have a question. Are we getting smart boards?
You getting what?
Smart boards?
Looking into it. I told her, go ahead and get a price, look at it, and then we'll, bring it to the commission, see if you guys are interested in doing that. She wanted to do it in 3 rooms, maybe. I think they were thinking Quantapug room, Monuckatuck room, maybe here. And I think the idea was a lot of meetings, we'd probably use them if we had them. When staff come up with an idea, I want to give them the creativity to go explore it.
Absolutely.
And then, come back to us and we'll see if it's something we want to do.
Okay.
I like the idea of more use of for the middle school students. That's great. I'm glad that they're looking into that.
Yeah, and well,
Yeah.
I remember, part of Andrew, when we first hired him, I told him I want him to get some things going for the teens here, and he's developing a good rapport. We have 10 to 12 kids coming here many afternoons a week now, and he plays basketball with them.
Oh, good.
Not for 2 hours, but he'll go down there for a half hour, an hour or so down in the Guilford room. He's been outside throwing football around with them. He's meeting tomorrow with Phil Ross at Baldwin, to the vice principal there, to meet with him. I suggested he get a meeting with the principal, vice principal, or one of them at Adams, and talk about, what kind of activities can we do with the kids. So we want to build up.
Let's try it again.
Teens are a hard group to program for him, to come up with
Yes, it
successful
is.
things. And he's a young guy, and he's got a lot of energy, and like I said, he's
He
already got
does.
a rapport with these
Yeah.
kids that have been coming on a pretty regular basis.
Great. Yeah, let's keep trying.
Yeah.
And the seniors report seems to speak for itself,
Ah, yes, we're having fun.
so I heard.
A lot of fun trips, activities. Okay.
Agenda item 7, report of commission and staff representatives to a commission. Rick, item 8, standing field committee.
Probably the biggest thing we're still working on is the Cox project, and you'll see when we talk about the capital budget. We had a presentation at the meeting last week from Malone and McBroom about the engineering company. They're going to write the specifications for the work up there. if you remember, we have $150,000 in the budget, excuse me, to renovate the south field, this is the one to the left, if you go up the hill, to regrade that and then put irrigation on that field and the north field. But when they did test pits, and they did some on both fields, and they saw and did a little bit of a grading plan, they saw that the north field also had some grading issues. They were proposing that we might want to do both fields, since it's going to get done anyway, might not do both. But we just got the quote back today, if we seed both fields, regrade and seed them, the additional cost over and above the $150,000 is about $68,000 more to do the other field. They're giving us several options, which I didn't bring up here with me, but another one would be another one just to do the south field, like we planned on, and sodding it, and possibly still irrigating the north field, but not doing anything else with it. Although I think that within the $150,000, I think they're saying that we basically do the south field and nothing with the north field. I'm a little concerned with that because we've told youth sports, and youth sports have contributed $20,000 between 4 different groups, including the high school, $5,000 each for the engineering plan, to have to hire Malone McBroom to do this. And we've always said with this we'll be able to irrigate both fields. That's what we originally thought we were going to be able to do for $150,000. So when we talk about the budget, we just need to talk a little more about that if we want to ask to go back and ask for another $68,000. I talked to Sheila, the finance director, about it. I told her it looks like to me more than what is already bonded. It's in the budget right now. It's been approved. And she said, put it in. It's not up to her to decide we're going to get it. She said, put it in. It's up to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance if we get that. But I think, again, maybe when we talk more about it, we can get a little more detail. But we had a lot of conversation about that at the last meeting. And that is really the main thing we talked about, is that project.
Okay. Town Green Committee?
See, we met last week also. We had originally told them, and we hoped that there was a section of the green, I think I reported on, that we were going to do some top dressing with some compost and some organic fertilizer. Our top dressing machine broke down 2 weeks ago. And I think what happened when the guys were top dressing at Jacobs Beach, they had no idea this was in the soil. I don't know why this was in the topsoil pile, but there was a pipe that weighed probably 20 or 30 pounds, solid pipe about this wide and this long. Somehow that was in the topsoil, and it went through the machine, and it damaged something in the machine. So we're waiting for Public Works to be able to address it, look at it. They're probably going to have to order some kind of part for it. And so we are without the top dresser now, have been for about probably 3 weeks now. And that's a right amount of time we were planning on doing the work on the green.
But as far as you know, they can repair it.
We're hoping they can repair it.
You're hoping, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's crazy. Who would have thought this big pipe is in the
Would be in
topsoil?
topsoil somewhere.
Yeah.
Is it possible to rent one in the interim?
Or borrow.
Borrow one from,
Yeah, I don't know anyone else who has it, because
Yeah.
other towns around borrowed ours.
yeah.
Like Madison would borrow it, we loan it to them, they loan us stuff. I mean, we're kind of getting, it's getting, although this weather's amazing this week, but it's getting a little late in the season to really do any seeding really, now anyway. So, anyway, we're hoping it'll be fixed within a couple of weeks, but we're waiting on that right now.
So then you would do it in the spring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I reported that to the Green Committee. The plan is now we'll do it in the spring, so
Yeah.
they know that.
Okay.
Agenda item 8, excuse my voice tonight, unfinished business. A, dog park.
So I met with Eric Anderson, surveyor, and walked the area with him, and I believe this Thursday we should have the survey back. He's going to, the boundaries, he's going to go from Dome Avenue to the north, to the cemetery in the south, and then from Nut Plains Road, and then east to the dirt road that goes down to the chestnut orchard there. So it's kind of the boundary. I don't think the dog park's it's not going to go in all that area, but
Right.
I just said, why don't we just
We'll
do
just
this
do it.
whole boundary here. So you asked me to come up with like a plan of development, I think,
Right.
Jack, last month, and so I have it written, but I didn't bring it up with me, but basically, the timeline is, we get the survey, then we have to determine, I don't believe there's gonna be any wetlands in there, but we have to determine if we will be within 100 feet of the wetlands. If we aren't, we don't have to have any wetlands approval. I spoke with the wetlands chairman today, and with Kevin McGee about this, and once I get the survey, we'll have a better idea, because I think Eric will kind of mark where the wetlands are on the survey.
Right.
And then we determine, do we need to be near it or not?
So that could give us a month or so. Cut right
It
out
would.
of the timeline.
It would,
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
Great.
And so if we don't need that, then we can go to the planning and zoning to the meeting, I don't know if we're gonna make November or not.
December.
'Cause I forgot what date they meet, I have it written down, but if not, we'll go in December.
December.
And as soon as that's approved, the next step, the volunteers can start doing their work, because they're chomping at the bit.
Good.
I did get some information from the town's insurance company regarding a possible waiver form that volunteers would have to sign. I sent that to Pam Millman. She hasn't been able to
She
get
hasn't
back to me
gotten
on
back to
any
you
of that.
Okay.
But I think that we need to have something signed by any volunteers if they're going to do any work out
Yeah.
there. Just, they're going to be using chainsaws
letter,
and
yeah.
whatever. And I did meet out there on a Saturday with the several members of the dog park committee to show them where it is. They were very, very pleased with it. They liked the area.
Good.
So right now, we're just waiting on the survey and we're ready to roll ahead once we get
When
that.
did you say the survey should be done?
This Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were surveying this week.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Great.
I had breakfast a couple weeks ago with one of the partners from the Guilford Veterinary Hospital, and they want to make a donation in kind to the dog park.
Oh, how nice.
The dog bags and packs and
Nice, good, great.
stanchions or whatever they're called.
Excellent.
Yeah, that'd be
Uh,
okay.
Subsection B.
Yeah, the proposal to name the field after Ralph. Well, the Board of Ed is finally moving on. I don't know, did you get a call from anybody?
No, only from you.
Okay, because they're forming a committee. I mean, they have to have a subcommittee to look at this, and they've asked me to sit on it, and Paul Schmidt. I don't know who else is on it. They just asked if we'd be interested, and I said yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Great.
So I haven't gotten a call yet to see if they've set up, or when a meeting will be set up. So they're moving in that
So
direction.
it's moving, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Item C, Rollwood Park historic sign.
Nothing new. The last that was left is that Joel Heelner and Mike McBride, curator of the Whitfield Museum, we're going to talk and come up with some language for the sign, but I don't know if those guys have met yet.
Okay.
As far as I know, they haven't, because I haven't heard anything back from them yet. But we were trying to set up a meeting, and somebody couldn't make any date that we set up, so finally those guys just said, look, why don't we just talk about it? We'll put something together, we'll run it by you. So once we have it, I'll bring it, but nothing yet.
Item D, Grass Island check.
Just to fill you in, that John Markowski, the Eagle Scout, is moving ahead with that. He got the approval from he basically went to Joe Mazza for that, so that's why he hasn't come here to give a presentation, give the presentation to Joe and others that are kind of on a committee there. And so he's beginning fundraising. He has a website. I suggested that he go to the Rotary Club, which I think they're meeting, it's either this Thursday or next Thursday. I told him I'd go with him to ask for money from the Rotary Club. I spoke with the Rotary president. He sounded pretty interested. They might want to contribute something to it. I believe he's going to go to either the Guilford Preservation Alliance and/or the Guilford Foundation. And I'm sure that the people just on his website, they'll get $5, $10, $20 donations.
As long as people know it's there.
Yeah.
And since he didn't come through us, that's okay, and he went through the Board of Selectmen, will they be giving him any money as well?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think at this point that they're expecting to be all privately funded.
Okay.
But what the Guilford Foundation has agreed to do is whatever money he raises, they'll match it for future repairs to the shack. So there'll be
Wow.
an account set up in Guilford Foundation. So the renovations that are done to it, if something happens 5 years from now and some money is
For
needed.
maintenance, that's great.
They'll match whatever he raises. Yeah.
Quite nice.
It's a pretty interesting community project, a lot of different people involved and
Yeah.
wanting to make,
And
save the
people love
shop.
it.
Yeah.
So I think once the word gets out, you'll get the donations.
Without getting too aesthetic about it, are there any artists involved in that? Because they use that, it's an
I suggested
iconic subject.
I suggest he try to contact the artist community because
Or photographers.
they've all made money on that
And
shop
they're
in one
making,
way.
that's something, once
Yeah.
word gets out into the community, I
Yeah.
think people will contribute, because they
It's
do
all
love
over Facebook.
it. Yeah.
They were
Oh,
the
is
ones
it?
that raised the
Yeah.
money to
Okay.
repair it the last time.
The art
You know,
community?
Ken McKenzie was one of the
Yeah, yes,
artists.
yeah.
The father or the son?
The father.
Father, yeah.
The
I
Mets
think-
player.
Okay.
And the foundation held the funds, so they would been involved in this before.
Okay.
Great. Good.
Item E, Daniel Avenue, Daniel Avenue Beach Barrier.
Yeah, just, I know we, in the last meeting, we said we were going to put something up there instead of the boulder, since people seem to be moving the boulder, and I think we're probably going to put up a couple posts and a chain. Tony's aware of it, we just haven't gotten to it yet, but we'll be getting it. I think we're kind of getting to a point where now, I don't think anybody's going to be bringing boats in and out of there too much pretty soon, although this week maybe.
Jack, before we leave old business, I just wanted to say that the list of things that we had brought before about things that we wanted cleaned up in the community center, the list is moving along. You can't really see it all, but a lot of the closets have been cleaned out. The Ruth Alexander Lounge is looking quite nice. We've cleaned out all the shelves in there, and there's made some room in some of our other. So it is coming along. I don't want you to think we have
Well, I was
forgotten
wondering
about it,
about
but
that.
we are coming along.
Slow and steady.
Good.
Slow and steady.
Good.
I'm working, Anthony's doing a great job.
Wonderful.
But, you know, the fair got in our way a little bit this
Yeah,
month.
that's okay.
That's all right.
It's happening.
Okay.
The fair was good, too. You were there, right? The fair was
Yes.
very well attended.
It was well
Yeah,
attended.
senior fair, yeah.
Yep. And it did well.
Agenda item 9, new business. A, request for a wedding reception with wine. And it comes in the form of not an application, but a handwritten note.
A letter at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the
And
application.
Rick, I couldn't read the woman's name.
Do you know who these people are?
Yeah, it's
Are they Guilford people? Do we know
I
anything?
don't think so. I think on the application, they were from out of town. Yeah, we should have made a copy of the application too here. You can't really
Looks like
see the
Heather
name at the
Quinn.
bottom here.
That's what I thought, so.
But they want to have their ceremony at the Perkine Church, and then the reception here. But the problem, well, the issue is, they want to have wine.
And we don't generally allow it.
And, you know, the town ordinance says there's no wine or no alcohol in town facilities or town parks unless
Unless.
approved by
There's gotta be
by the Parks and
concurrence.
Recreation and the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
And if you remember, we had a discussion with the Chamber of Commerce, wanted to do
Yes.
something at Jacobs Beach.
Jacobs Beach. Yes.
Same thing, wine at the beach. And then when, I think it was the day that they...
Dedication of the trailhead.
370.
Yeah, Chicken
Yes.
Park, they wanted to have some beer
Beer
there,
or
and
something.
we said no to both of those. So I just, you know, I didn't speak with this woman, I think Bonnie did. And so I think she said to the lady, we'll write a letter and Rick can bring it to the Parks and Rec Commission. And so here it is.
Well, we don't want to wait too long on making a decision because she's
No,
planning
I
a
agree.
wedding and March is going to be here very quickly when you're
It's so
planning
simple.
weddings.
You think
Response.
that's,
I think we need to make it tonight.
Yeah.
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 And again, if it's a policy,
Yeah.
so if you do for one, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a whole
Right.
bunch of people are gonna get on the bandwagon. And so it's a policy, we don't have usually
Just
for
respond that.
I'm
that
with
is our
Judy.
policy.
In the sense of consistency, we've been
Yeah, I
consistent
agree.
in the past, we might as well retain
I
that
agree.
level of consistency in the future.
Would we be granting the request without the wine, though? I mean, if she wanted to have a wedding here.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
we can have a-
So
they have
like,
weddings.
you wanna-
Your daughter got married.
Yes.
That's the only one so far.
Yeah, because of no
alcohol.
wine.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
I mean,
So
people at
just-
least like to have a wine for a toast, so I understand the concept of why they don't want to use it here,
Well,
use our
then,
facility.
if we respond and just say
But
they're
sadly-
welcome to have the wedding,
There's
following the
sparkling ciders,
parameters of
zoning
renting,
ciders.
Yeah.
but
They're
Yeah.
no alcohol is to be
alternatives.
served, so they can
Yeah.
determine whether they still want to use the facility or go elsewhere. Okay.
Do we need an actual vote on that, or?
I don't think
Is
we do.
consensus enough?
I don't, we have a policy.
It is, yeah, I think it's actually
It's a
town
policy.
ordinance, I think,
Yeah.
you know,
It
but it
is.
says unless approved by the Parks and Rec Commission
Right.
and the Board of Selectmen, not or, it has to be both, I think.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so, because that's in the policy, I didn't
No-brainer.
feel like I had the authorities to tell her, no, you can't have it, you know. It was really up to you folks if you want to allow it or not.
Right.
Yeah, we'll give you the authority. No.
Well, now I can
Well-
tell.
But just contact her
Sad,
before too
but-
much time goes by so she can,
I'll do
Yeah.
that.
you know, plan her life accordingly. Or
Sure.
I guess her mother's the one who is going to be serving the wine. So-
Wants the wine.
Savage.
Should we do this before the budget? Because the budget will take
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah, let's, God bless you. Let's temporarily pass over 9B, the capital budget, and deal with the letter that we received tonight, Rick, from Sharon Ryan Johnson.
So you have the letter there, and this, again, I got this, I think, last Thursday.
But you said that, that we're sort of benched out. We have quite a few benches
Well,
and
we
chairs.
have, we have
but-
3 benches, and we have 10 Adirondack chairs. The benches are kind
Okay.
of spaced out pretty well down there. This is at Jacobs Beach, you know, in the grassy area.
Right.
We have benches around the playground, but again, I think we have maybe 8.
Right.
Quite a few benches that are in that area there. And so, I told her that it was a commission decision, not mine, but I said, I think we have a lot of benches, enough benches and chairs down there. And then she then said, well, what about a lifeguard chair? I said, well, actually, we want to get a second chair because for the last 10, 12 years, 15 years, we've only had one lifeguard chair down there. And I talked with Ellen and Lindsay, our new program coordinator, Lindsay, is, her strength is aquatics, and she's a swim coach, and I spoke with her about this, and I said, I'm a little uncomfortable where that chair is now. If somebody's over by the jetty area, that's a long way for a lifeguard to have to get there and get in the water. So I said, what do you think about getting 2 lifeguard chairs? And she said, yeah, absolutely. We should have, the distance, we should have 2 chairs. If you think about Lake Quanticook, it's a much smaller area.
Yeah.
Granted, a lot more people swim there, but still, we should have 2 chairs at Jacobs. And so I think
That's fine.
Sharon
Yeah.
suggested she'd be willing to pay for a chair.
Well, and it also does say, if we read this, that they used to like to come and jump off the lifeguard chair.
Yeah.
So I think that would sort of be appropriate.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, if she's willing to pay for that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they cost beyond a bench.
A bench cost.
Yeah.
I'd have to look into the price, I don't know.
We'll just ask her.
Well, let's just say
Yeah.
yes for now and then see what happens.
Get a price and ask her, and if that's the case, then
And
let's
certainly if
move
they,
forward with it.
if they don't want to do the lifeguard chair, even though she did mention it and they get the price, perhaps maybe suggest another Adirondack chair,
Mhm.
because we do, or
Right.
2, depending on what they want to spend, because we
Yeah.
do need more of those. So as
Sure.
a second option,
Okay.
Yeah.
lifeguard first, chair first, second.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. So I will get back to her and
Great.
let her know that.
Okay.
And now 9B, 5-year capital budget. We're almost done.
15 minutes.
Okay, this has to be in by November 10th, so what's that, a week from tomorrow, I guess. A lot of this is part of the 5-year plan that we've already
Yeah.
approved. There are some additions to it. We had to add another year, so we had to go out to 2021.
Sure.
So you want me to just go through the items here, starting with the equipment?
You don't really have to.
No, because we already know them. If we go from where we left off.
Okay.
But the only one I would ask about, Rick, is on page, excuse me, okay, we're doing equipment first. We'll do, when we get the 5-year capital, I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just highlight a couple things, maybe a couple of new ones. For next year, replace GU 56, that's the pickup truck that we use for the staff here. The mechanics have told me we really should think about replacing that pretty soon. It's going to be, 16 years old, 17 by the time we get it. It's riding out, the bottom is just getting all rusted out. Doesn't have a lot of miles on it, it's only about 48,000 miles. but the bottom is just getting it's rusting. And
Yeah.
it just said it's ready to rot through.
So this is the one with the stainless steel bottom that we
No.
just...
No.
The one down further.
This one's it's 2016-17, the F-150. So that's something that wasn't in before, and when we put this in last year. And then the other one's the walk-behind mower. We have a lot of areas at the high school, the new high school complex, that we are not going to be able to mow with a sit-down rider mower.
Too steep.
There are a lot of banks.
Yeah.
Some of them are like this, and we're going to have to weed whack. There's just no way you can mow these things. And I'm concerned about it because that's going to be it's a beautiful school. The fields look great. If we can't keep up with those banks, there's going to be a lot of criticism on us. And we need something to be able to do that. We can't do it with the equipment we have. So that's new there.
Okay, so refresh my memory a little bit. Where does our responsibility
Yeah.
with Board of Ed and their crew begins and where does ours begin?
Ours are anything on the fields and adjacent to. So if the high school, it'd be all around the batting cages.
Okay.
The bank going down to the softball fields from
Okay.
the roadway coming in. The bank that is adjacent to the material field.
Okay.
That bank there. Most of last year, they had a fence going through the, right from almost to the bottom because it was a construction area. So we didn't have to mow that last year. Let me see, the bank on the first base side of the varsity softball field, it's a fairly steep bank, a lot of evergreen trees around it. We'd have to get a mower to get in and around there.
So that doesn't leave much left. What do they do?
Well, they do like the islands, the parking lot islands, any areas that are adjacent specifically to the
To
school.
the front of the school.
The front that's
Front
not done
area.
yet, there'll be grass
They'll be
areas
doing the
there.
front.
In all the schools, like Cavalier, for example, they do like around the playground area.
Right.
They do the parking areas, the islands. We basically do the athletic fields in the areas that are directly touching the athletic fields.
Adjacent to them?
Yeah,
So they do like the high visibility areas, huh?
they do or we do.
They do.
Yeah,
Depends on
so
whether
the
you're playing
fields are pretty
sports or
busy.
just driving by.
High visibility is, yeah.
And they're great help. I mean, if there's some areas we can't get to, we talk to
Yeah,
them.
they are good.
It's good. We have a good
It's a good
cooperative
crew.
relationship.
So given that there are a lot of sloped areas, do you feel that the weed whacker is an efficient
No,
way to do it? Or is there a better piece of equipment that,
I don't think there's any equipment.
No.
that
it's
can
just
do it.
because of the slope,
Very
the
steep,
pitch?
especially, John, you've been down there by the softball scoreboard in the varsity field. I mean, it's literally like that steep.
Oh.
There's no way you can mow it. It's absolutely impossible.
It's even hard to walk down with a...
Even a weed whacker could be tough because you could be slipping and sliding on that
Yeah.
slope.
It sounds like something that needs a retaining wall.
Well, or I think that, maybe, this
mulch.
wasn't done, look, I want to make sure I don't sound like I'm criticizing the project because it's beautiful. They've done a great job with this. And they had a lot to shoehorn in a small area there and work with the contours and everything. But maybe in some areas in the future, the grass comes out and there's some plantings that go
Yeah, I
there
was
that
gonna
you
ask,
don't
what about-
maintain.
Pachysandra. works
Something,
very
yeah,
well.
like that.
Just start ripping up the grass and start going to Pachysandra and you'll be fine.
Wonderful.
So that may be a
Plant three,
capital
5,000.
project. But, some of these areas they're just too steep. They're,
Yeah.
hard to
So
mow.
what, I guess the thing is, we'll just look at it, see how it goes, as far as the
Right.
safety factor, certainly,
Yeah.
that's the biggest issue.
Yes.
Is keeping the guys safe while they're trying to maintain
Yes.
these
Right.
sloped areas. And if it isn't a safety issue, then we need to go back to the Board of Ed and address making some changes to
Right.
accommodate grooming it beautifully, but keeping them safe.
I think we'll need a season to see how it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Right.
really
A
doesn't
normal
look very
season.
nice right now. Yeah.
A normal season.
The walk-behind mower,
So that's an addition that wasn't in there before, and we really should try to get that next year, because we're going to be start taking care of this in the
Yeah.
spring.
is it going to be utilized elsewhere too? It can.
Oh, yeah, we can
We
use
have
it.
so much that you guys know that.
We will use it in other places, but they are specifically,
They'll be by your house every week.
That would be great. And they are down the road from being late, so feel free to come up anytime.
You want to schedule it now? We can schedule it. Right. Perfect.
Rick, I'm also noticing too, if you look on the 2019, 2020, if the top dresser can't be fixed, is that the same piece of equipment? Then that
Yeah.
might get moved up until,
We-
up to next year,
we
right?
can move it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're hoping that, I mean, the rest of it's in good shape, it's just where this thing came out.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a piece they can get to replace it. Well, I'm pretty sure. They need to know for sure from the mechanics down there, but I mean, they're pretty good at repairing things.
Rick, just as a general question, when we replace a truck, do we sell it
The old.
and get some money?
There are two ways. Sometimes
They sell them.
sometimes they're traded in, but not usually,
Mhm.
because the trading values, you don't get much for it. You know, there is a bit of a, I hate to call it a graveyard, but I mean, there is an area down at Public Works where there are a lot of old vehicles. At some point, I think the purchasing director puts things up for auction, and, you know, either an auction of some sort. Hasn't happened in a little while, but I think she waits till we get a certain number of things to auction off, so you're not auctioning off like 3 vehicles or something.
Right.
You know, occasionally if it's something, a smaller piece of equipment, and somebody has asked, hey, look, I'm interested in something, I'd be willing to buy it. You have to make sure that other people get the equal opportunity.
Sure.
You know, if your neighbor is interested in also, or their neighbor or whatever, you have to make sure people know about it. So it's not like you
Advertise.
just found somebody who says, hey, I want it, it looks like you just sell it, so we have
Well,
to,
there's a process in place.
there's a
for that, though.
process, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the top dresser, that we added that in there in 2019-20 there, and I think the other things have been in there, I believe. Not too much. And then 2021, that's all new because that's another year we have to go out. Snow blower, it's expensive. It's actually, it's a mower. It's a Toro mower, but it has that's our workhorse on the sidewalks. It's 5 feet wide, I think. It's probably this tall. It's a huge snow blower. I mean, it can handle, when we had those blizzards and those big storms,
Yeah.
it can cut right through that stuff.
Wow.
And we have a lot of sidewalks to do.
Yes, we do. We have about 2.5 miles of sidewalks. And so that piece of equipment is really essential. And so at some point, we got to replace it. So we got that in there 4 or 5 years out.
Good.
And then a pickup, you're replacing the one that is kind of an all-user pickup down at public, the parks guys use, and then a trailer.
Perfect.
The 5-year capital project budget proposed.
This next year, in 16, 17, the decking for the shade structure at Jacobs Beach, we talked about that last year.
Yep.
I gotta let you know, it's in the budget, but I got the budget packet, it's listed under SF, Special Fund. It's not, it's the program fund.
Well, I think it's an important part of completing that project.
It is,
Yeah, it's a part
but
two.
it's something we're being asked to pay for it out of
They're
reimbursements.
reimbursables.
So we may have to save up a little bit for that.
Yep.
The community center roof, I think that's already approved in bond. I've added Lake Quantified weed removal, since this is something, we're going to work on this grant, we have to have some matching funds. So I put 20 in there. I think somebody in the commission, maybe Barbara or somebody had asked about, getting a contractor to paint
Oh, we do.
all the interior here.
Yes, it needs it. It
Yeah.
really does need it.
And, we can't do it all with our one
No.
guy. And with Steve Menino, the facilities manager, he just said, it's too much. If they were doing just this room, they could do it, but to do almost the entire building.
Because the hallways need it, the whole
Yeah.
building needs it. We walked through this whole thing.
Can I just ask the community center roof, is that something that because we're having issues with the roof? Or is it something because it's just kind of maintenance?
It's 25 years old. We have had some issues above the exercise room. We've had leaks several times, big storms, or there's a lot of wind. It gets under the shingles and it gets down, and we've had to actually sand part of the floor in there because it started to bubble up a little bit, the wood. So, and again, the roof will be 25 years old, and they were 25-year shingles at the time. Now they've got 30, 35-year shingles. So that's an estimate directly from a roof contractor.
Is it possible that we could, with the roof, I mean, does school go through cycles with their roofing as well? Is it possible that we could match our project with a Board of Ed project and maybe knock down the price?
Possibly, if they're doing one, yeah. I could ask to find that out. Part of that, though, too, and I just met with Will Thompson today, the architect. We asked him to look at, we have a problem with going down the hallway right across from the the Whitfield room, the door going out to the courtyard. When we have heavy rainstorms, the water always comes in under the door and the carpet is wet. Big rainstorms. And so we had Will look at the plans, and he said that really the gutters are not sized properly. For that, there's so much volume of water coming off this roof, the exercise room roof, the Guilford room roof, and they're all coming into one area. The gutters can't handle it. Just too much water flowing over it. The water's flowing over because it's not big enough to handle. I think he said they're 4 or 5 inch wide gutters. He said we need really 7 or 8 inch gutters there. So when we do this, we'll add that to the spec. That gutter has to be widened. So, that'll be part of that.
While we're talking like that, we also talked about having all these carpets either cleaned or replaced, because they are really starting to show some serious wear.
Yeah, well, we do have as far as cleaning, we have a contract with a company to do it twice a year. Not to do all the carpets, whatever ones we just ask them to do. The ones we've been doing mostly are the hallway. Because small ones we can do, we have a machine, we can do it, our guys can do it. Hallway's big though, and it's like about $1,200, $1,300 each time, I think, to do it.
Okay.
So we've been having him twice a year do the hallway downstairs, because that usually right after spring, after the winter, all the salt and everything comes in there. And usually sometime in the summer he does it, which I think he did this last summer.
Okay.
It's also just a stain removal as part of that.
Okay.
And then the last one was if we wanted to add the $68,000 to the Upper Cox field, the north field, this one to the right, which is what I was talking about at the beginning of the meeting. Next year is a pretty big year. There's we're asking for a lot of money, but there are a lot of things that just fell on us, like the weed removal. That's something we didn't talk about last year, but now we're doing this grant, we have to match it with something.
Yeah.
And then once the engineers got up there at Upper Cox and thought, yeah, you know what, you really got to do something with this north field also, we thought we should add that in there.
But in regards to that, if you guys were telling them that this is how much money we had and we want to do both fields, why are they now coming back saying, oh, well, you have to do the other field, but that's not included in the $150,000?
The original quote was not from them.
Oh, okay.
It was from somebody in the field committee who's an engineer, who had an estimate of what he thought it would cost to do this. Again, if we just did the south field, we probably could do it, but I don't think we could do that and irrigate the north field. But again, the field committee walked this a couple of weeks ago in looking at that north field and said, yeah, we really probably should do both of them. This year was as you know, because you've been on the fields, that field got beat up really, really badly because of the drought, not having any irrigation up there, and it really got torn up. And that's why John kind of inspired the recommendation that we shut those two fields down mid-October, I think, maybe early October, and we had to move everybody off to other places. And because they were just so worn, we thought there's a potential of somebody getting hurt on them. So, again, looking back, I think last year that field didn't look as bad as it does now. And so they're suggesting, because of the way it looks now, probably a good idea to tear it up and redo that one too.
Well, if you're already doing one, you might as well.
Right.
Well, the equipment's there. I mean,
Yeah.
everything is there.
Why
Cheaper to
pay
do it
twice?
there.
Why pay
Right.
twice?
When you can
I
do
think
it.
that's the thought. And that part of that money also includes a new pump. We didn't know at the time if we needed a new pump. They inspected the irrigation pump that's there. There was a pump put in 10 or 12 years ago for future use. But we haven't had to use it because there's no irrigation. So now we want to do the irrigation, but they said the pump, it's all, I don't know, seized up or whatever, for just sitting there for
From sitting there,
12
yeah.
years not being used. And so they said we should replace it. So that's all in that figure. The field committee on 17-18, they want us to renovate the infield of the baseball field at Long Hill Park. There are a lot of, dips and low spots, and they want us to tear that out and redo that field. They also recommended, the split drains work so well in the outfield of the baseball field out there. They suggest we continue going north into the football field. On the west side of the football field, it gets very wet. It stays wet, not this year. It's been a dry year, but a normal fall, it's saturated out there. So they're recommending we continue what we did a couple years ago and continue that north and do, pretty much the rest of that field there. So that's the $40,000.
Okay.
18-19, nothing changed there. The synthetic turf field, that we already talked to the Board of Ed about splitting that. 1920, this, I think, at some point we have to have a major discussion about this. That was originally, we were talking about a metal Butler storage building in the rear Bittner, mainly to hold recreation equipment, like, I don't know, a lot of the canoes and kayaks and things from camp. And maybe we store, a couple tractors there in the winter that we aren't using in the winter, or in the summer, sanders or something. But after our walk in the garage, I started rethinking this a little bit. And as you know, there's no eating place for the guys. There's no bathroom for the guys.
That's just.
Although I did clarify, they can use the one across the road at Public Works, but
Yeah, I think it's deplorable. It's
if they're having lunch, and granted, they're in there every day in the winter having lunch, but they're having lunch the same place where they're sawing wood, there's sawdust in the air, and it's just probably not a very healthy environment these guys are working in there. And that coupled with, I've heard some overtures from the town engineer and the Public Works Department, they need more bays for their stuff. So I got to thinking, I talked to Jim Portland a little bit about this very briefly with Joe Mazza, and I said, well, maybe instead of a storage building at Bittner, can we find room down there at 47 Driveway to build another facility that'll house our guys and our equipment? Give up those bays that we have now to Public Works, now they get the extra bays that they need. I can't sit here right now and tell you definitely there's space to do that down there, but I can tell you that where the buses are parked, and all behind that is part of Rollwood Park, which is town property. So I think there's, not having surveyed it, but I mean, there's
Possibilities.
property that is owned by the town that maybe something can happen there. It's gonna be a lot more than $100,000.
Million.
Maybe it's $1 million, I don't know what it's gonna be, but I think we gotta work on this some more. Maybe we keep that in there for a placeholder right now, but
I mean, maybe something has to go to referendum,
maybe, yeah.
Maybe. I think before we come to any kind of an agreement, tacit or otherwise, with Public Works, we have to find out how much square feet we need.
Right,
Right.
And how much is available for
Yeah.
us.
right.
Otherwise, we'll end up getting short shrifted. Yeah.
Mhm.
None of the other departments are thinking about building new buildings for themselves, are they? Like Public Works or Board of Ed? Because it seems like we,
That's a-
Nothing we've heard.
yeah, it seems like we have our stuff scattered like seeds across town.
Yeah,
And there's-
we do.
There's no central inventory, there's no central maintenance of it. It's just, I mean, a centralized facility would be ideal for us to keep proper maintenance of our property.
Well, it is centralized down there, right? That's where all the maintenance, the mechanics are and everything. That's
But we
why
have some stuff up at Bittner, we have some,
we have some stuff there.
What about Water
They have to
Street
come
or
here and
Boston
use the
Street?
bathroom.
What's in
There's
that?
stuff in there too,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what the showmobile goes there in the winter. In the summer, so the Public Works has a couple sanders, I think, in there. Their street sweeper is in there.
Do you
But
still have
if
stuff at
we
the
give
old
up-
garage on Graves Avenue?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't there stuff at Graves Avenue?
that's what we're talking about. That's the old Public Works.
That's what I'm talking about.
All of our camp supplies are in there, kayaks,
Plus, there's a lot of stuff
swim
being stored in the
supplies.
back of the building when we went to visit.
Yeah.
There, all the picnic tables that they
Yeah.
refurbish every year are all sitting out in the wintertime.
Mhm.
That doesn't do them any good.
Right.
I mean, it's,
There's no place to put them, though.
Yeah.
Right.
But if
You know?
we gave up the bays down at 47 for Public Works, would they still need the Graves Boston Street building? Would that give them, that we could maybe take over that building with, if that would house all of our, but,
There's a lot in that building. Maybe we should get a tour there. It's not just us. Golf course has stuff in there, the Marina Commission, their boats go in there.
so that's used by everyone as well.
It's, in the winter, it is packed.
I think, Rick, we have to determine our needs
Right.
first, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe we could do some kind of study. I mean, really,
Yeah.
I really think that we need to do that.
Townwide.
and it's amazing too, the public that, I would have never realized that those are the conditions until I went down there.
Mhm.
And I've talked to a lot of people in town, they had no idea either. I mean, it's horrible not to even have a bathroom for them.
Yeah.
It-
And I clarified that, I mean, they can, because part of, I think what came up was that the Public Works guys leave at 3:30, our guys will leave till 4.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
I spoke with the Public Works Director, or Tom Fillion there, and he said that the guy, facilities guy who does the cleaning there, he's there from like 3:30 to 5. So it is open. The guys, if they need to use the bathroom after 3:30, they can go over there and use it. So I let our guys know that. But, I mean, there is an option for them. It's not in the same building where they are, but it's
It's not the same.
It's not a good
50
option.
yards.
No, it's not.
It's not a good option.
Well, that's what I'm suggesting.
Especially if he's not in work that day.
Should have a bathroom facility, should have an area where they can eat lunch.
Well, and part of me thinks it ought to be done sooner rather than later. I mean, those are not good working conditions for
No.
these guys.
Right, exactly.
It should be the same
They're poor working
There should be
conditions,
parity.
conditions that the public works have.
Right.
at minimum. I think we do need to talk about that more.
Yeah. And again, we know it's going to be a lot more than this, I have no idea, but the 100,000 was based on a metal shell with some lights in it, you know, not anything fancy that they put in the park.
I think we need to put
We want
together
one
some
with a bathroom.
requirements, figure out what the scope of what we're looking at.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
have some kind, and commission some kind of study,
Mhm.
you know.
Or some subcommittee to look into doing that.
We could start by inventorying what we have
Yep.
and where we'd like it to be
Mhm.
centralized.
So, again, I think we'll just keep something in there to hold the place for it, but
Yep.
we got to come up with a number that's more accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we
And I
want to
think
keep
we
it on
have-
our agenda too, though, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you're right, because really, probably in the next year or two, we would have to start the
That's fine.
architectural plans.
That's
Things
fine.
Like I said, sooner rather than later, I
That's
think we
fine.
should start looking at it.
Yeah. And we're going to make sure we have the space to do it down there. Okay, and then going out to 2021, the Adams Tennis Courts, you know, if anybody here plays pickleball, I know one. We can
My
keep
neighbor.
patching those cracks, and we could do it this spring, it's gonna be about $5,000 to patch them probably. And you have to do that
But they
like every
don't-
couple of years, and we're gonna, 5 years, we'll spend $20,000 probably, and have to keep doing them. So I got an estimate from a tennis court company to demolish them. He's saying the way to go, just like we're talking about up at the skate park, go with this post-tension concrete. They say it could last 30 years.
Wow.
You know, it's concrete, it doesn't crack, it's not gonna, like with the problem with the skate park, with the asphalt, the metal ramps, they melt right into the asphalt, so they're melted in now. Even we wanted to move them around and change the layout, we couldn't, because there'd be edges like this now. And, and the cracks, there's a big crack that goes right between the two pickleball courts. This would eliminate all that.
Rick, 2021 talks about or describes the tennis courts at Adams, not the pickleball courts.
Right.
They're one
Well, they're
of the...
pickleball.
They're the same.
And I don't get a lot of calls, but I do get a lot of calls from people who play tennis there. And they are very concerned about the condition of the Adams tennis courts. And I know there was a temporary stopgap solution there a couple of years ago.
Right.
To
The
get the
balls
fence.
just bounce dead, whether it be a tennis ball or a
Right.
pickleball.
Depending on what kind of player you are.
I don't know the physics of it or
Oh,
even
yeah,
the aesthetics of it. But the fence was broken, that was repaired, but the court itself, anyway. Can that be moved up from 2021?
If we do it, what do we move
The tennis
down?
courts,
Well, the patching, again, let me just tell you this, that we took a low quote to do the work last time around, and they didn't do as good a job as another company
Right.
does. The company I spoke with about this, the cracks are about that wide. And so the company who did it just put a membrane over it. Let's just say this is a crack, they put a membrane over it.
I've been
The other
told that.
company fills that crack with something first, so it make it solid, like a caulking sort of. They fill it, and then they put the membrane over it, so it's got something support underneath it.
I think
What's
that's
there
half
now?
the problem, that there's nothing
It's just, like I said, it's
under
dead space.
It's just like, yeah.
Yeah. So we can fix it, if they do it right, it should last 3 years. So if we did it this spring, for example, and had it done out of our maintenance account or program account, we could
Then it
probably,
would
we
last
should be able to
until
get to
2020?
about 20 anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I know, there's only one other tennis court in town.
Well, there's Guilford Lakes and then there's the high school.
Okay, so the high school.
Lakes in the high school.
Yeah.
And there is not one at the middle school, the middle school
No
anymore.
longer, no.
Oh, really? That's cool.
And the-
parking lot.
And the pickleball court at Bittner isn't interchangeable with tennis.
Correct, it's just pickleball.
It's just pickleball.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have 2 pickleball courts there, 2 at Lakes, and 4 at Adams right now.
And the
And Spartan
four,
tennis courts.
we use 3 of them pretty much every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It is a growing sport.
Yeah,
It
so
is.
75, 80 people
And on
now.
that, are we done with this? I just have one question about the courts and whose maintenance. The Guilford Lakes court, I asked the custodians to turn the lights on tonight to make sure they'd be on with the time change.
Oh, yeah.
And there's, as you walk into the court, there's, the bulb is dead, there's
Oh.
no light. So I told them, and they said, oh, that's Park and Rec's responsibility, so I'm just passing that on.
Don't forget, we're the
Why
we're the
does
Department of
everything-
Parks and Cooperation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Judy, you should be happy to know that those lights are on all night, so you could play
Yeah.
pickleball at 3 o'clock in the morning if you want.
Well, they're supposed to
Timer
be-
works well, doesn't it?
That's good.
I was gonna say, so the timer doesn't even
I'm sure
work.
the neighbors love that.
When I leave for work in the morning, those lights are just blazing on.
Well,
Oh, we should
they
look into
have
that,
them
Rick. That's
on
wrong. That's
early
wrong.
Well, that-
Wasting
Yeah,
energy.
well, that's,
The kids and
they're supposed to turn
That's
them off.
wrong. as well, yeah.
Pre-school,
the kindergarten.
before school, when parents are dropping the kids off, I know they've got them timed for that.
Yeah, but they're
And
on
they
at
come-
11 o'clock at night, because I drive by and
The tennis
they're-
courts are.
the tennis courts are
The
still
tennis
on.
courts are on all night.
So we need to look
All
at
night.
replacing the
Should be.
bulb and the timer.
Oh, yeah, the timer, I think they
their
turn them on and off in the school.
Yeah, they
I-
do.
You're right about
Yeah.
that. They
But we
turn
need to
them
look into it getting
Either they're
corrected, so.
on or
it's-
they're
So he
off.
turns them
Set
on and he
correctly.
leaves.
Yeah, he should turn them off before he
The
leaves.
timer is working fine. He turns them off when he comes to work in the
Yeah,
morning.
because I know the ones at the ones at the high schools are push button
It's a
timers.
simple process.
They only go on if somebody's there playing,
When
they
you
push
leave,
the
you
button. We're paying for those, and that's why we put there, because we're paying for it. The high school, the basketball courts
Adams.
at Adams, those are put on and off by the custodian, I believe. There may be a timer in the school, I don't know. There's no control outside. But again, we don't pay for that one, we don't pay for the basketball courts, lights.
And the fire
we don't pay for
department, we
lights.
don't pay for them
But
either.
somebody does, and it doesn't make sense to have them on all night long.
Well,
So-
there's only 3 out of 4 lights working, so.
So I'll call there tomorrow, and so it's the first one when you come in on the right, or?
Yes, as you walk in the door, it's right there behind the porta potty.
Okay. All right, we'll check that.
So,
And if you're looking at the lights, the lights at
Was
Bittner
it?
Field, the parking lot, those are intermittent. They come on, they come off.
They're supposed to go off like, well,
Well,
should be up
they're
around
just-
10 or so.
It's just that they don't come on at all. I mean, there are a couple of lamps that are closer towards as you make the right-hand turn to go up towards the skate park. Those poles, those lamps, one of them doesn't come on at all, the other one comes on.
So maybe we should just do a general review of all the timed lights, just
Or
to
get
make
them
sure
inspected and,
that the bulbs are all the way they are, and they're set to go on and off at the appropriate times,
Yeah.
just as a general, because it sounds like there's more than just one issue.
So a couple of them in the back are not going on at all?
Well, the one in the far back by the dirt piles, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But on the paved area, where you just paved it.
Yeah.
There's at least one that does not come on at all,
Okay.
and there's another one that flickers intermittently.
All right, we'll check on that.
so before we move from that, Vic, let's see if we can move up the Adams tennis courts. You don't have to do it right now, but move it
But
up
do we
some.
really need to move it if he's going to patch it
he's gonna patch it properly.
And that'll bring us to,
2020?
will
Yeah,
we keep
should
it
get
active
us-
then?
Well, if they keep it in 2021 and don't, it's a rolling
hopefully
budget.
they will,
It's a rolling, well,
right.
Yeah.
But,
If we spend a little more money and get it done right, we should get 3 years out of it.
okay.
I think that's the warranty, actually.
Okay. That's good.
So if you agree with the rest of this, then
When do
I'll
we have
submit
to have
it
our budget done?
next week to Finance Office. There's a little backup material I have to send with it, but this is the summary of it.
So why don't you have a proposed operating budget for us at our December 7th meeting? And if you can get it done before that, send it out to us.
I'll try. I haven't gotten anything in direction on that at all yet. Usually it's due around December 21st.
Yeah, I understand that.
I'll be freed up a little bit next week, once this grant is done, that Kevin and I are working on for the weeds at Lake Quantified. This is my first priority, to do this. This took some time.
Yeah.
The grant is taking some time. That's due, we're gonna have that done by Friday. So, yeah, I should be freed up to be able to.
Yeah, because the operating budget itself starts to take on a life of itself in
Yes, it
December.
does.
Right.
And, you know, we don't go to the Board of Selectmen until around the 15th, 16th, or 17th of January. However, Finance wants that at the end of December. And if we have to meet another time in December, it's holiday time, it's snow time, and I just don't want to put the commission under any pressure
Yeah.
to scurry around and try to find a meeting for a bare minimum of people on the commission. I'd rather have it done and over to Sheila Bolano's office by whenever her date is for her submission. Then it's done until we defend the budget.
We've never been late with it.
Yeah,
No.
So speaking of the budget,
please do.
can you look into handicapped access to the beaches where I've seen that there are, not ramps, but there are things you could put down that will take, that people can use their wheelchair and actually get down to the water?
We actually used
Can
to
we look
have
into that?
we used to have a beach wheelchair that we had, and it was like about $1,000. Somebody purchased it and donated it to us. And they actually bought it for their mother's 100th birthday.
Wow.
She wanted to go swimming. And she was brought by her daughter down to the water on her 100th birthday with this
Good for
chair
her.
that they bought for her but gave to us. And that was like 15 years ago, and it's just.
I know I don't think they're quite that expensive, but can we just look into that?
Yeah.
Because it would give people the opportunity to get to the water.
Someone might want to donate one of those, too.
By the playground, by the boat racks, if we had something from where the boat racks by the jetty to the sand, I mean, that wouldn't be as far, because it's pretty flat
Right.
gravel or whatnot by the playground down to the boat rack, so it would really just need to be something
From there down.
down so that they could get
Just
right
across
down
the
to the
sand.
water to the sand.
Just
Yeah,
across
well,
the sand.
if you go to our boat racks, we have the wooden
Right.
Trex material, but there's a fabric that we bought, it's 30 or 50 feet, I forgot how much it is. It was a sample that they sent us to try out, and so we put that on the upper. They said you can't use it near the water though, and with waves it would rip up. You can't get to the water with it. So I don't. There's not, and they use it for wheelchair access, and they use it on beaches. And there are a couple different companies that have these, and all of them say you can't put them. You can't get it down below the high tide line because the waves will rip.
Right.
They're only held by 18-inch spikes, and the waves would just flap around. Because we looked at that for the boat rack, the boat launch.
Well, how about
instead
at
of-
Quantified?
Well, Quantified,
I mean, I don't want to make a big discussion of it tonight. All I'm just saying is, can you look into it and
yeah.
just
I wonder
see if it's feasible
I
or
wonder if it'd be
not?
better to get another beach wheelchair, because that can be used anywhere, either place, and people know we had it. They can get anywhere on the beach from the boardwalk. We can get them to the water with that.
Problem is, you have to have it someplace, you'd have to cart it. Somebody just happened to show up at Quantapug, and you on a Sunday afternoon, how do you find it?
Well,
Well, you
they're
would be
it'd probably
stored in the
be a
barn.
Jacobs,
That's what I'm saying, you'd have to
yeah.
tell somebody ahead of time. It becomes more of a major operation than just something simple that, because
We'll look
we do
into
have
that.
people in
But that
town
would
with
tie in
wheelchairs
nicely
and
with-
walkers and all kinds of things that could use it.
It would tie in nicely with the idea of the shade structure, too,
Yeah.
because more folks could use that shade structure as well.
If you can get to it.
Right.
So I'll have one of the staff look at
well, let's
what
just
the
look into
ADA
it and see what we
requirements
can
are,
find out.
what's available.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Well, before we adjourn, our next meeting is scheduled for December 7th.
I will message you, yeah.
Okay.
Annual Radio City trip.
Annual what?
Carolina, the Radio City trip,
Oh, my. Oh, okay. Don't miss that.
daughter's birthday.
Don't miss that.
Okay, we're good.
Be sure to vote tomorrow.
Oh, it's also the first day of Hanukkah.
It's also what?
First day of Hanukkah.
December 7th?
The town office is closed on the 7th? No.
No.
No, okay. All right, December 7th will be.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second the motion that we adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye.